Hi everyone. Today we are going to deal with the digestive system of Branchiopsis. And digestive system, as in the case of any organism, it is composed of alimentary canal and digestive glands. And alimentary canal, unlike what we have seen in the case of Urochordata, here it is a very straight and complete tube which extends from mouth to anus, and all throughout the alimentary canal it is lined by ciliated epithelia, right? And generally it is divisible into mouth, then buccal cavity, or it is otherwise referred as vestibule. Then you have the pharynx, or otherwise called the branchial sac. Then a very short esophagus, intestine, and anus. Okay, you can see all these parts clearly in the what you call the picture given, right? Here you can find the mouth is not visible from outside. Sorry, mouth is not visible from outside. It is actually enclosed or covered over by the buccal cirri. Okay, and this part is actually referred as the oral hood. Fine. It is known as oral hood, right? So this what do you call the oral hood actually encloses within the ventral opening, which is referred as the mouth. The mouth extends into or opens into the structure which we refer as the buccal cavity, the vestibule. Okay, the vestibule, it is a funnel shaped structure or cavity, and it is enclosed within the oral hood. We will be learning all these structures in detail, right? Now the vestibule, it opens into a very massive pharynx. You can see the whole structure over here. It is the pharynx, and what happens is the alimentary canal, the pharynx is the most spacious chamber, and it forms the largest part in the alimentary canal. It occupies almost like one half of the anterior part of the body itself. Okay, so such is the structure of pharynx. Now next is esophagus. The pharynx opens into esophagus. Esophagus is a very small, very short, narrow, tubular structure or part, and internally it is also lined with ciliary lining. Okay, and it leads into, so this is the esophagus, it leads into the intestine. Okay, so this longer part is the intestine. You can see it opens out by way of anus. And where is anus placed? We saw that in the last presentation, in the case of Branchiostoma, they have three openings, isn't it? Apart from mouth and the anal opening, they have the atriopore as well, right? So atriopore is actually the opening for the atrium. Where is the atrium located? Atrium is located around the pharynx. Fine. So around the pharynx you can see the atrium, which opens out through the atriopore, and the atriopore, it is present on the anterior side of the ventral fin. This part is the ventral fin. Okay, while anus, it is actually located posterior to the ventral fin. It may be like between the ventral fin and the caudal fin. Fine. So anal opening. So this is the structure of the what you call alimentary canal. Now with regard to digestive gland, the Branchiostoma, it doesn't possess a very elaborate glandular system, especially for digestion. It possesses a diverticulum. This is the diverticulum. Okay, it is the midgut diverticulum we call. Here it is referred as the hepatic diverticulum because some scientists even refer these midgut diverticulum as liver. Right, that is the only main digestive gland present in the case of Branchiostoma, and it is located at the junction between the esophagus and the this one, what you call the midgut. Okay, so it is located between the esophagus and midgut, and it is usually positioned ventral to the alimentary canal. So I hope the whole part is clear to you. Okay, now so this is the structure. You can see the alimentary canal. Here we have only the alimentary canal being given, so we can't find the what you call oral hood. Instead, you can see a structure referred as velum, right? Actually, just behind the oral opening or the mouth opening, you can see a structure which is referred as this one, isn't it? What you call um, the vestibule. Yeah. Okay. So just behind the vestibule, or just, yeah, behind the posterior to the vestibule, you can see a structure which is known as the velum, right? And this velum, it possesses velar tentacles which project inward. So we will be seeing it in detail later. So this opening in the velum, it is known as the enterostome. Okay, this opening is known as the enterostome. The whole structure here, it is referred as the velum. Okay, yeah. So we can that is a initial part is given in this particular figure. This is the anterior part. This part is the anterior part. Okay, now it opens into a very massive pharyngeal region, and you can see the gill slits are there. We'll be learning it in detail, the gill structure and different types of gills later. In the pharynx, you can see the endostyle over here, and another structure which is also associated with pharynx, it is the epipharyngeal groove. Okay, and these terms you are familiar with when we studied the structure of ascidian alimentary canal, isn't it? So endostyle and the epipharyngeal groove, and you can see another structure, peripharyngeal band, right over here. So all these are associated with the pharynx. Okay, fine. So and then esophagus, very small part, the esophagus. This is the part, and you can see at the junction of the esophagus and the what you call midgut. This part is the midgut, starting from over here. Okay, so this part is the esophagus, and this part is the midgut region. So at the junction of the midgut and the pharynx, you can esophagus, you can see the midgut diverticula. Okay, that is the structure which actually have a digestive glandular function. That is the only structure which is clearly found to have a glandular function. And then this extends into the anal opening, which opens at the what you call just posterior to the ventral fin. Okay, so that is the alimentary canal structure. Okay, now we will see the detailed structure of the mouth and the oral hood, the buccal cavity, etc. Okay, so here mouth is actually a large median aperture which is situated anteroventrally below the rostrum. Okay, I hope you remember what is rostrum, isn't it? So this part of the body is referred as this part. Okay, this part is referred as the rostrum, and the mouth is present actually it is present anteroventrally. Okay, it is on the ventral side of the rostrum, so it is situated over here. Okay, and you can see in the case of the branchiostoma, the mouth is not visible from outside. The reason is it is bordered by a frill-like membrane which is referred as the oral hood. Okay, so this whole structure is what is referred as the oral hood. Okay, so this mouth opening is actually dorsally as well as laterally being completely covered by oral hood, and that is why it is not visible from outside. It almost seems like the oral hood region when you see from the anterior part. Okay, when you are looking at the organism from the anterior part, it is somewhat like a depression. Okay, the central part of the oral hood, it is almost like a depression, and in the center of the depression you can see the mouth opening, and all along the edges of this what you call depression, you can see the tentacular structures. You can see these structures. Okay, all along the dorsal as well as the lateral sides of this particular edge of the oral hood, you can find these what you call the tentacular structures. Fine, and these structures are what is referred as the oral cirri. I hope it is clear, right? So you have the oral hood surrounding the mouth region, the mouth, and you can see that the oral hood bears the oral cirri, or it is otherwise known as the buccal cirri. Okay, right? So mouth is actually a median aperture situated anteroventrally below the rostrum. It is bordered by the membranous structure which is referred as the oral hood, right? And the free ventrolateral edges or the margin of oral hood is provided with 10 to 11 pairs of the what you call tentacular structures. Okay, or you can see ciliated slender structures which are referred as the oral cirri or oral tentacles. Okay, oral cirri is a little more common usage, so it is referred as the oral cirri. Now, these oral cirri, they bear sensory structures, right? So they are sensory in function. And the number of oral cirri on the oral hood, it varies or it increases with age. And these oral cirri and the edge of the oral hood, they are supported by what you call skeletal rods, and this will be looking into in detail in the next slide. Okay. So what these buccal cirri do, or the oral cirri do? Oral cirri, while feeding, when the organism is feeding, these oral cirri, they just fold internally and they form a sieve-like structure or a filter-like structure. Okay, and this prevent entry of larger particles along with the food. The food is taken in along with the water. Okay, so when the water laden with food, it enters through the mouth region. Actually, the larger particles are sieved out or filtered out with the help of these oral cirri, which actually folds inward, and it behaves like a sieve. Okay, so that is, I hope that is clear. Okay, now next one is, you can see the what you call the wheel organ, or what you call the velum. Okay, I hope you can locate where is the wheel organ, right? This part here, you can see this part is the velum. Okay, you can see a very clear region here. So that is the velum, right? And from the velum you can find structures projecting out into the vestibular region. Okay, these structures here you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, etc., isn't it? Here the very longest one. So these form the wheel organ. Okay, that forms the wheel organ. Now these are actually like finger like folds. Each of the fold that is provided with ciliated groove. Okay, and these ciliated, the whole structure, the ciliated groove plus the finger like folds, all together it is referred as the wheel organ. Okay, and this wheel organ, it is otherwise known as rotatory organ or Muller's organ. Okay, so all these refer to the same structure, the wheel organ, and as the name indicates, rotatory organ, so it rotates, isn't it? While rotating, it creates a water current, a whirling water current is made. Okay, and this actually sweeps food into the mouth. Actually, it sucks food into the mouth. Okay, so this part, you can see the way the velum is over just 1 minute. Okay, so the velum is over here. You can see the tentacular structures, and these are the wheel, or this together it forms a wheel organ. And the velum, it actually encloses within a small opening which is referred as the what you call enterostome. Okay, and the food, it enters the pharynx through the enterostome. The water plus the food, it enters the pharynx through the enterostome. Actually the tentacular structures, it actually forms the what you call filter like process. It acts like a filter, so filtering out all the unwanted and larger particles from entering the pharyngeal region. Okay, I hope that is clear. Okay, fine. Now, another structure which has to be referred over here is the Hasch's pit, right? The Hasch's groove and Hasch's pit. The wheel organ, we mentioned that there are tentacular structures, isn't it? These wheel organ, it contains what you call as a ciliated groove in each of the fold. Okay, these ciliated groove are bounded on either side by ciliated ridges. So, each of these structures, or each of these finger like folds, they bear a groove, and on either side it is bounded by ridges. Okay, so all these grooves and ridges, they are provided with cilia. Okay, and you can see that the largest among the folds, it actually contains a small depression. It usually it is present on the dorsal side. Okay, so the mid dorsal groove, it is the largest, and it ends in a small depression on the roof of the buccal cavity. Okay, so this mid-dorsal fold, it contains a groove, and this actually, it ends in a small depression on the roof of the buccal cavity. Okay, the roof, this is the roof. Okay, 1 minute. Okay, right, sorry. So this part is the roof. Okay, so here what happens is the what you call the groove, it actually ends in a small depression on the roof. Okay, and that what you call the largest mid-dorsal groove, it is referred as the Hershey's groove, and the pit into which this actually rests, it is actually known as the Hershey's pit. Okay, both the Hershey's groove and the Hershey's pit are ciliated. They are glandular and they secrete mucus. Okay, so why the mucus is secreted? Actually, when the food comes in along with the water, these mucus, it mixes with the food. Okay, it actually traps the food, and it helps in trapping the food and moving the food towards the pharyngeal region. So that is a function. Okay, so that it do have a glandular function, and it produces mucus. I hope all these structures are clear. We will be looking into it in detail in the next 2 slides. Okay, coming here, this is the actual figure. It is a stained organism mounted on a slide. You can see all the structures, isn't it? Here you can see these are the oral tentacles, right? You can see these are the buccal cirri or oral cirri, not oral tentacles, it is the oral cirri. Fine. And here this region over here marked as 5 over here. Okay, this region is actually the mouth. Okay, it is not visible from outside, but since the organism is transparent, we can find that this part. Okay, so that is the mouth, right? This is the mouth, and this is the oral cirri. Okay, now this part, right, this margin, right, this margin plus the oral cirri, it is what is referred as the oral hood, right? It is the oral hood. Fine. Now what are these structures? You can see the folds, isn't it? These structures and these folds are what is referred as the wheel organ. Okay, that is referred as the wheel organ, right? And this part, it is actually the velum. Okay, that is the marked as 8, it is the velum. Clear? Okay, so we'll see once again. This is the just 1 minute. Okay, so this is the oral cirri. Okay, and this part actually, this plus the oral cirri, okay, together forms the oral hood. Okay, now this part is the mouth opening. Fine, and it is, you can see it is completely surrounded by the oral hood. Fine, now these fold like structures, that is what is referred as the, yes, it is the wheel organ. Okay, and this membrane, it is the velum, this part. Okay, now what is this? It is the pharynx. Okay, pharyngeal gill slits, the pharynx region. Okay, all around the pharynx you can find the atrium, right? So this part, right, this is actually just behind the what you call vestibular region. Okay, and this part is actually referred as the prebranchial prebranchial. Okay, so this part is referred as the prebranchial region. Okay, as we have seen in the case of ascidium, right? It is a prebranchial region. So these other structures, all these structures, what is marked as 1, 2, 3, 4, all these, I suppose it is clear to you. 4 is the rostrum, right? 3 is the what you call the notochord, and you have the dorsal nerve cord, right? And here it is the Findray boxes. Okay, so all these structures, I hope it is clear, right? Okay, now this is what is the oral hood, right? I'll just enlarge it. Okay, right, so here you can see the oral hood. Okay, it is the enlarged part of the oral hood. And actually what is oral hood? Oral hood is actually formed by the dorsal and the lateral projections of the anterior end of the trunk. Okay, so the anterior part of the trunk, the ventral side of the anterior most part of the trunk, there the dorsal and the lateral edges, it forms projections, and that is what is referred as the oral hood. So only the lateral and the dorsal edges it extends forward as projections. Okay, and so you can see in the center there will be a depression. Is it clear? Okay, so when we look into the structure, it will be somewhat like this. So here you have the body, the branchiostoma. Okay, so only this edge, okay, this edge, okay, the dorsal and the lateral edges, it extends forward. Okay, it extends forward, right? I'll just one minute. Okay, so it extends forward and it forms a structure. Okay, only, but what happens to this part, the internally? Okay, internally or centrally it will be depressed. Okay, only the edges will be projected forward. Okay, so here you can see these folds, it forms what is known as the oral hood. Okay, clear? So you can see this is the oral hood, and here it is, the oral hood is enlarged, and you can see that these structures, they are oral cirri. Okay, these structures marked over here, all these are oral cirri, all arranged along the edges of the oral hood. Okay, now the oral cirri, it is otherwise known as buccal tentacles or oral tentacles. Okay, now in the center, this part, it is the mouth. Okay, the opening, it is the mouth region. Fine. Okay, and then all along the oral cirri, they have sensory papillae. So they actually, it helps, it functions as a sensory receptor. Okay, so it can actually help in detection of food and unwanted particles, etc. So sensory papillae, it is present, right? And you can see all these oral cirri, it is being supported by what you call as the skeletal roots or the supporting roots. You can see over here, the marked in black, isn't it? Every oral cirri, it is supported by skeletal roots. So this is the basic structure of the oral cirri. Fine. What you call oral hood. Okay, now we already saw that this part is actually the mouth, right? So what happens with this one, the free ventrolateral edges of the margin of oral hood, it is provided with 10 to 11 pairs of slender ciliated oral cirri. Okay, these oral cirri, it bears sensory papillae. Now the number of oral cirri, it increases with age, and the oral cirri and edge of oral hood, it is being supported by skeletal roots, and these skeletal roots are stiff and gelatinous rod-like structure. Okay, the oral cirri, it forms a sieve or filter that prevent entry of larger particles into the mouth. I hope it is clear. Okay, right. Now the vestibule. Okay, the oral hood, it encloses a large funnel shaped cavity called the vestibule. So the oral hood, it actually extends backward as a funnel shaped cavity, and that is what is referred as the vestibule, and the mouth opens into the vestibule. So this vestibule is provided with internal ectodermal lining. Okay, and we can see that basally the epithelial lining of the oral hood, it forms 6 to 8. Okay, we will see it in the previous figure. Sorry. Over here you can find, okay, yeah. So basally the epithelial lining of the oral hood, it forms 6 to 8 pairs of finger-like folds or patches, each formed by a ciliated groove bounded by a ciliated ridge. Okay, I hope it is clear. Okay, so these basally the oral hood, it is there towards the posterior part. The oral hood do have the epithelial lining modified to form finger-like folds. Almost 6 to 8 finger-like folds are there, and each of these folds, it is formed by a ciliated groove bounded by a ciliated ridge. Okay, I hope you can visualize that, right? And all this together, it is what is referred as the wheel organ or the Muller's organ. Fine. And the mid dorsal, you can see this one, mid dorsal groove, it is the largest and it ends in a small depression on the roof of the buccal cavity. So the terminal end of the largest groove, actually it rests in a small depression present in the roof of the buccal cavity. The groove is referred as the Haschek's groove, and the pit in which the end of the groove ends, it is actually known as the Haschek's pit. Okay, now these groove as well as the pit, they are both are ciliated glandular and it secrete mucus. Okay, right. Now we were speaking about the velum, right? This is the structure of velum, right? You can see right here, it is clear. Now we can see the velum and the enterostome. Okay, the central part, the central opening, actually it is a enterostome, right? And you can see the structure. This is actually resting on the wall of the alimentary canal. Okay, it is actually on the wall of the alimentary canal, and this part is referred as the velar ring. Okay, from this velar ring you can see two structures. One is all around, you can see a sphincter. Okay, this is a sphincter. It is made up of circular muscles. Okay, now from this velar ring extends tentacular structures. Okay, these are the structures here. 1, 2, 3. You can see, right? These are the velar. Okay, so these are the velar tentacles extending inward from the velar ring. Okay, now right. So I hope the structure is clear. Right now, posterior to the what you call posterior in the vestibule, the vestibular opening is closed by a ring-like membrane. It is referred as the velum. So this part is known as the velum. Fine. And this velum, it is perforated by a central aperture which is referred as the enterostome. Okay, this enterostome leads into the pharynx. So you have the mouth. Okay, mouth is guarded outside by the oral cirri on the oral hood, right? Then you have the mouth extending into the vestibule or the buccal cavity, and this vestibule basally it possesses what is known as the just in front of the vestibule anteriorly, it possesses a structure known as a wheel organ. Okay, wheel organ contains the the finger-like folds and structures, etc. Actually, it secretes the mucus. Now the water enters the vestibule region. So mouth, then into the wheel organ, and then you have the vestibule. Okay, basally in the vestibule or posteriorly in the vestibule, you can find the structure known as the velum, and the velum contains the velar tentacles, and these velar tentacles, again, it functions like a filter. Okay, these velar tentacles, it folds inside and it forms a tentacular sieve-like structure, and in the center of the velum you can see the opening known as the enterostome. So water from the mouth, it enters the vestibule passing through the wheel organ, and from the vestibule it enters the pharynx passing through the enterostome. Okay, now the enterostome, it is some others they refer enterostome as mouth, but actually it is cannot be called as a mouth, because the mouth opens into a region in the alimentary canal which has to be lined by ectoderm. But in here what happens is enterostome, it opens into pharynx which is actually lined by endoderm. Okay, so it is wrong to call enterostome as a mouth, right? So enterostome, it opens into pharynx. Now the velum, which is found in the junction of the vestibule and the pharynx, it is provided with a sphincter. Okay, and this sphincter, you can see the sphincter. Okay, this sphincter, it helps to open or close the enterostome, right? And the posterior border of the velum is just provided with 10 to 12 slender sensory velar tentacles. Okay, these velar tentacles, again, just like the oral cirri, here also it is provided with sensory structures, right? So these velar tentacles, they serve to strain water and actually prevent entry of unwanted particles through the enterostome into the pharynx. Okay, so I hope till here it is clear to you. and we were speaking about the branchiostoma, alimentary canal, and we just completed till the pharyngeal region. Okay, so initially when we start from the anterior tip of the body, they do have what we call as the oral hood provided with oral cirri. Okay, the oral hood basically it contains the, or it encloses the mouth region. Okay, the mouth opens into the vestibule or the buccal cavity. Actually, the buccal cavity is formed at the basal region of the oral hood. Okay, and this vestibule anteriorly, it possesses a structure known as a wheel organ, right? And this wheel organ, it have the grooves, Hershey's groove and Hershey's pit, which actually secrete mucus. Fine. Now the water laden with food, when it passes through this region, the mucus entraps the food. Now this food, it has to pass through another structure which is known as the velum before it enters the pharynx, right? The velum actually, it contains the velar tentacles which strains out unwanted particles and only allow the food to enter into the pharynx along with the water. Okay, so this is the whole what you call alimentary canal. Okay, thank you. And then the next presentation will be dealing with the pharynx. Since it is a very spacious structure, it do have many structures found in the pharynx, associated with the pharynx. So we'll be learning it in the next presentation. Okay, thank you.